Welcome. We're going to get started in just a couple of minutes, and we just have a few folks still trickling in, it looks like. So we're just going to get started in 1 minute.
Hi, Jessica. How
Hi,
are you?
is that
It's
Peter?
Peter.
Hi, Peter.
Yeah, how's it going?
It's going well, Peter. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. We're going to get started in just a couple of minutes, everyone.
Hi there,
Hello, everyone.
Jessica.
Hi, Tom.
Hey, here. Was that Susan Baxter? Yeah. You just heard Susan.
Well,
Yep.
Tom, you're
Hello, hi
good.
Tom.
Hey, how you
I was
doing?
not sure.
Good.
All right, we're going to get started in just a couple of minutes. It's great to see so many familiar faces. Okay, I think it's trickled down now. We can go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to tonight's RTAG General Membership Meeting. I'm Jessica Podesba and I'll be facilitating the meeting tonight. We have some great information and presentations tonight to share, and we're very much looking forward to a good discussion. Next slide. Just quickly run over our agenda. I'll go through a couple of housekeeping things and technology directions. Then we're going to hear an update from Elizabeth Foster, our RTAG co-chair. Then we're going to hear a presentation from the Department of System-Wide Accessibility. And then we're going to hear from the bus network redesign team as a follow-up to an earlier meeting that we had. And have some opportunities for feedback there. Then we'll hear some updates from Michelle Styler, the Chief of Paratransit Services at the RIDE, and some feedback there. And then we'll hear some closing remarks, and we look forward to hearing from everyone. I also ask that if you have joined, we ask that everyone keep themselves on mute so that we have clear audio for our interpreters unless you're speaking. All right, next slide. Just some Zoom housekeeping instructions. We do have ASL interpreters tonight. Our ASL interpreters are Katie McFarland and Tom Louderborn. To view their videos in the gallery, on the top right corner of the interpreter's video, click the ellipses, then click the pin video option, and this will keep the interpreter's video on your screen. We will also be spotlighting the speakers and interpreters. Next slide. Our CART captioner tonight is Denise Gracia. To start viewing the closed captioning, please click the closed caption icon with the CCs at the bottom of your screen. Just a tip, you can click and drag the closed captioning to move its positioning in the meeting window. To adjust the caption size, you click the upward arrow next to the stop video option, then click video settings and then accessibility. And then you can move the slider to adjust the caption size. Next slide. Some Zoom directions. Please use the chat for technical questions. If you have a technical question about Zoom or the features of this meeting, please use the chat function. We have someone monitoring the chat who will attempt to troubleshoot your problem and get back to you. Next slide. We will be recording this meeting and posting it to the MBTA's website, so everyone can access it after the meeting. Next slide. And next, I would like to call on Elizabeth Foster, the RTAG co-chair, to give her update. Elizabeth, we'll give a second to spotlight her.
There we are. Good evening, everyone. And welcome to our October Writers Transportation Access Group meeting. Just for everyone who is new and maybe joining us for the first time, I'm going to introduce myself and just some general things about RTAG. My name is Elizabeth Foster, and I am the co-chair of RTAG's executive board. RTAG is an independent, consumer-driven board that advises the MBTA on matters that impact seniors and folks with disabilities. advocating for a public transportation system that is accessible and equitable for all riders. Our advocacy and organizing work is led by our executive board members, and I'm just gonna take a moment to introduce all of our board members, many of whom are joining us tonight. We have individual members, Jerry Boyd, Joanne Daniels-Feingold, Tom Gilbert, Elizabeth Dean Clower, and myself. And then we have our organizational members who are Kathy Paul from the Mass Senior Action Council, Diana Hu from Boston Center for Independent Living, Nora Nagel from Bay State Council of the Blind, and Cassandra Xavier from Disability Policy Consortium. Just a couple of updates since our last membership meeting. We have continued to partner with the plaintiffs from the Daniels-Feingold versus MBTA settlement on fixed route advocacy initiatives. And last week we met with the bus network redesign team, who you're going to hear from tonight. And then last month, we also held a listening session on the MBTA diversions and accessibility, focusing partially on the orange line and green line diversions, and a lot of you were joining us for that. And our RIDE subcommittee has continued to be collaborating closely with the Office for Transportation Access to address the RIDE software transition and some of the more general systemic issues on the RIDE. And just this week, members of our RIDE subcommittee visited TRAC to engage in further discussions on how we can improve customer communications. And we appreciate all of you who have been attending all of these meetings. And thank you all for being here with us tonight. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Jessica to introduce the MBTA presentations.
Thanks, Elizabeth, and thanks to all the hard work that the executive board and subcommittee has been doing. Next, we're going to hear from Laura Brailsford, the Assistant General Manager of System-Wide Accessibility. Laura, we'll just give a second to spotlight you. Laura. All right, Laura, you're good to go.
All right, thanks, Jessica. Good evening, everyone. I am Laura Brailsford, and my team and I oversee initiatives related to improving accessibility of our fixed route system. I am going to yield the vast majority of my time to two of my colleagues, Melissa and Doug, who are going to be updating you on a number of recent proposals related to redesigning our bus network. I will be here afterwards to take any questions or answered regarding anything you'd like to talk about related to the fixed route. But before I turn it over to Melissa and Doug, Rob, next slide. I just wanted to remind everybody that as you are out there using the system or getting ready to use the system, we want to hear from you if things are not going well, or if you have any questions, or you would like to share a positive experience with us. So as some of you are aware, you can do this in a couple of ways. You can call our main call center at 617-222-3200. You can go to our website at mbta.com and click on the link to support, and there's a comment form you can fill out there. Or for those of you on Twitter, you can always tweet to us at MBTA. Also, if you have time, definitely check out our website. We've made a lot of updates recently. You can go to mbta.com/accessibility. You can find our latest report regarding all of the initiatives related to the fixed route system. And finally, just a heads up for everyone that our next public meeting on the settlement agreement related to accessibility, where Judge King will be our host, is already on the books for December 7th, which is a Wednesday. This will be an evening meeting starting at 5:30. So keep an eye on our calendar on our website for more details, but we look forward to seeing you there. That's all for now. And also you can sign up for more information and for newsletters my team sends out on a monthly basis by going to mbta.com/SWA sign up, following the link Jen just posted in the chat. Or if you are QR code savvy, you can hold your phone up and the QR code will take you right there. All right, with that, I will see you all in a few minutes for the Q&A. And Jessica, turning it back over to you.
Jessica, you're muted.
Meetings, and I still do that every now and then. Thank you, Laura. Next, we're going to hear from the Bus Network redesign team. And thank you so much, Doug Johnson and Melissa, for being here today. I know you guys have had quite a long day presenting at the board meeting this morning. So thank you for taking.
Thank you for having us. My audio cut out for a second there, but I think now I should be able to share my screen. So I'll bring that up. All right, I am going to go through the presentation that I and Melissa gave to the MBTA Board of Directors earlier today. First, I'll introduce us. So hi, everyone. Thank you for having us today. My name is Doug Johnson. I'm the project manager for Bus Network Redesign, and I'm joined by Melissa DeLay. She's the senior director for service planning at the T. I think I got that right. Always trips me up. You may remember us. I believe we were last here talking to you all. I think it was in August. We talked about the draft network that we had put out back in May, and we may have talked about the public feedback that we were receiving on it. So as you all know, we put out a draft revised bus network in May. We held a public feedback period that lasted from May until about September. The official comment period ended at the end of July, but we ended up continuing to accept comments all the way through September. We received over 20,000 comments on that map. We've since reviewed all of it and incorporated that feedback into what we have to present today, which is the revised bus network map. It's now available on our project website. We have a list of all the changes and maps as well that folks can check out. But I'm here today to talk about the changes that we incorporated into the map based on that feedback that we got. Some of that feedback came from you all, so thank you very much for participating in that. It's a pretty short deck, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I'll run through it, and then we can open it up to questions from folks. If anyone has any questions about specific routes and the changes that we made or what those routes will be doing in the future, I'll defer those questions to Melissa, as she knows it much better than I do. So you're all familiar with the Better Bus Project and bus network redesign in general. This is a really comprehensive effort to modernize the entire bus system and make it more reliable, improve accessibility. So the bus network redesign is just one facet of this overall program that we refer to as the Better Bus Project. And it includes things like modernizing our bus maintenance facilities, upgrading the entire fleet of buses, installing bus priority measures throughout the network, making bus stops accessible. And then it also includes things like the ongoing fare transformation effort and improvements that we're making to dispatching of buses and some other programs at the T. The bus network redesign specifically is looking at completely reimagining the bus network so that we can align it to better meet the needs of riders today. As folks know, in the last couple decades, there's been, excuse me, there's been some changes in land use and travel patterns in the region, and the bus network doesn't, as it exists today, doesn't necessarily do a great job of meeting that demand. So places like the Longwood Medical Area, Kendall Square, the Seaport, parts of Somerville and Chelsea and Everett and other parts of Boston, a lot of their land uses have changed. There's jobs concentrated in places now that where they weren't 50 years ago, but the bus network has been kind of static for decades. So this effort seeks to redesign the network to better serve the land use patterns that exist now and the travel patterns that exist in the region. The overall effort is guided by a few main goals. The first is prioritize equity. We want our network to be more equitable. We want to improve service for folks who are dependent on transit. That includes lower income households, communities of color due to historic marginalization, seniors, people with disabilities, and people who live in households with few or no vehicles. Obviously, folks who meet some of those criteria are more likely to be dependent on transit service to get where they need to go than people who don't meet those criteria. So we really want to make sure the bus network is doing a better job of serving people who are reliant on it and really need it. We want to provide more frequent service, more all-day service. Instead of, right now, the bus network is really focused on providing a lot of service on weekday mornings and in weekday evenings, but we want to make sure that we're providing more service all day, every day, because travel patterns are not as oriented to morning and evenings as they used to be. We want to create new connections to more places, a lot of those locations that I mentioned. We want to make the network simpler and easier to use. There's a lot of variance and deviations for routes right now, depending on the time of the day or the day of the week, which can pose a challenge to folks trying to figure out whether they're going to be able to get to where they need to go on certain routes. So we want to minimize that to the extent possible. And then we want better infrastructure for our service so that it will be more reliable for folks and less susceptible to traffic congestion. And then, of course, we also want to make the network more accessible. As you all know, there are a lot of bus stops in the system that are not accessible today. So through the implementation of this new network, we want to make sure that all bus stops in the system, in coordination with the PADI project, all bus stops will be accessible by the end of implementing this new network. To create the network that we had released back in May, we created a list of service design principles. They were to prioritize frequency over one-seat rides, create more rapid transit connections and more crosstown routes, focus on all-day service, as I mentioned, combine routes to some extent to create some high-frequency corridors, and then, as I mentioned, minimizing route variations and deviations, especially on the high-frequency routes. Of course, service design principles, they were really useful for informing the initial development of that network that we had put out in May. And of course, we applied them when we revised this network, but they need to be balanced with the public feedback that we got on that draft network. So we've incorporated the feedback that we heard. We received over, as I mentioned, 20,000 comments from folks. We read all of them. We incorporated that feedback into the new network, and while still considering these service design principles and sort of balancing the trade-offs of when to strictly apply the principles and when not to, depending on the feedback that we got from folks. And we've created this revised bus network. The revised network still increases service by 25% above pre-pandemic service. I'm going to get myself in trouble in these meetings because I keep saying 25% above today's service. But as you all know, literally the service that ran today is less service than we would like to be providing. But there's an operator shortage, of course, that's affecting how much service we can provide. So the 25% increase is on top of the service that we would like to be providing today, which is really sort of the pre-COVID amount of service, essentially. So 25% increase in service across the network. We want to double the number of high frequency routes. So there are two maps on this slide. The map on the left is a map of our key bus routes. These are our most frequent services right now. The standard for a key bus route in this network is the service runs every 20 minutes or better. That is not as good as the high frequency routes are going to be in the new network. So we want a better definition of high frequency service in this new network. And we are going to go from 15 high frequency corridors existing to 30 in the new network. And those are going to be routes that have a service that runs every 15 minutes or better, 7 days a week from 5 a.m. to 1 a.m. And when we say 15 minutes or better, that's really, that's the worst we would want it to be. In some cases, some of these routes will run every 4 minutes or every 8 minutes during peak periods, depending on what the route is. And there's some routes like the 111 from Chelsea that already runs more frequently than that. So the intent isn't to make those any worse than they are. We want to elevate as many routes as we can to be this high frequency service. So some of them are going to be more frequent than every 15 minutes or better during peak periods, but 15 minutes or better is really the worst we would want it to be at any time of day, whether it's early in the morning, midday, or into the evening. We ended up making changes to about 2/3 of the routes in the network based on, or in the proposal, based on the feedback that we got from folks. So we made changes to 85 out of 133 routes that we have in the proposal. The changes really range from small route modifications or small changes to frequency or how late a service runs, all the way to the other end of the spectrum to wholesale changes, putting routes back the way they exist today, or making sort of major route changes to them. So all the changes are kind of in that range. There were 5 main reasons for changes. The first was to generally respond to the public feedback that we got. And that's feedback from you folks, from other riders, from municipalities, from elected officials, employers, et cetera. When I say public feedback, I'm casting a really wide net there. So that's the first reason. The second was to improve access to hospitals, senior centers, grocery stores, senior housing, and other destinations. Like we heard a lot of feedback from seniors, from riders with disabilities, and we really took that feedback to heart and made a lot of changes to address the concerns that folks brought up to us. Similarly, the third reason we made changes was to, in some cases, reduce the walking distance to certain routes. So you may recall in the previous proposal, we had combined some routes to make some high frequency corridors, and sort of the trade-off for that was asking folks to travel a little bit further to get to that bus service. And the idea was that if that service is a lot better than what is available today, it's not really a big time penalty to ask folks to travel a little bit further to get to that service. Of course, we know that that's not the case. That's not the same for every rider, right? It's a bigger penalty in terms of time for folks who have different mobility needs, for seniors, for people with disabilities, and especially in locations with really challenging topography or not good pedestrian environments, whether it's the sidewalks are not ADA compliant, or there's challenging intersections to cross, things like that. So there were a lot of locations where we sort of reevaluated our assumptions there and decided to make some route modifications to reduce those walking distances that we would have been asking for folks. The fourth reason was to preserve existing one-seat rides to certain destinations. So there were some situations where we were asking folks in the draft network who have a one-seat ride from point A to point B right now to make a transfer from one service to another. And the idea was that if both of those services are really frequent and really reliable, then it's not a huge time penalty on folks to ask them to make that transfer. But we know that, you know, how easy that transfer is going to depend on the rider. It's going to depend on the location that the transfer is taking place. And some places are way more challenging to transfer from one service to another. So we ended up putting some routes back basically the way they work today to preserve those one-seat rides rather than ask folks to make those transfers. And then the last reason for changes was to basically balance our resources so that we stayed within the limits that we have. There is a max number of buses that we can run at any given time. That's a hard limit that we can't surpass unless we increase the size of the fleet. There is an effort underway right now to modernize all of the maintenance and storage facilities, decarbonize the whole fleet, and ultimately have the capacity to increase the fleet in the future. But this is a 5-year plan. So sort of in that time horizon, that 5 years, we have this cap of the number of buses that we can run. We had to stay within that limit. There's also the sort of budgeted service amount that we had to stay within as well. And that's 25% above the pre-COVID amount of service that we'd like to be running. So changes that we made to routes really fall into 5 main categories that line up with those reasons that I just gave. So the first category are routes that we either restored to their existing routing in part or in whole. So the 29 is a route that we put back to the routing that it has today, based on the feedback we got. The 39, we put it back to the way that it works today. So right now, today, it goes from Forest Hills through Jamaica Plain to Copley and Back Bay. We had proposed it going to Cambridge up to Porter Square. We've rescinded that proposal. The 39 would continue to do what it does today. We introduced a sort of new version of the 47 that does some of what the 47 does today, but completes that leg into Cambridge, connecting from the 39. So folks, if they take the 39 today and they do want to go to Cambridge, they'd be able to transfer to the 47. But otherwise, the 39 continues to function the way it does today. The 201 and the 202 would continue to do what they do today. We have proposed something different, the Route 20 in that part of the network, but we put it back to the 201 and the 202 doing what they do today. We restored part of the 44 as well. The 55 would continue to do what it does today. It would go from Fenway to Copley as it does today. We had proposed it going to Cambridge, but we heard a lot of feedback on that one. And then there are a few other routes that we put back either in whole or in part. The second category of changes was rerouting routes to better connect to hospitals, senior housing, grocery stores, shopping malls, other destinations. So the T8 and the T12, those are our high frequency routes if they have the letter T in front of the number. We made mostly those routes are the same as what we proposed, but we made some changes to them to better connect to Boston Medical Center, because as you all know, Boston Medical Center has a huge campus. There's sort of multiple entrances to it. So we modified those 2 routes to better connect to BMC. The 11 goes from South Boston to Tufts Medical Center today, and then loops through downtown to go back to South Boston. We had proposed it only going to Broadway, the Red Line station, so that folks who were going to Tufts would have had to make a transfer, but we heard a lot of feedback on that one, so we ended up extending the 11 back to Tufts Medical Center. So in the new network, the 11 will still be that 1-seat ride from South Boston to Tufts Medical Center. It's a slightly different route than it is today. It won't loop through downtown, down A Street like it does today, but it will still provide that connection from South Boston directly to Tufts Medical Center. We also Made some changes to a few other routes. The 104, for instance, that's one we have proposed going from Malden Center to East Boston, which is different than what it does today. That one's going to connect to the airport Blue Line station. We had proposed it going to the Wood Island station, but at the request of the city of Chelsea and Chelsea Green Routes, we moved it to the airport Blue Line station. So that was another change we made. We also modified the routing of the 104 through Chelsea so that it gets closer to the market basket in Chelsea. There's also the 87 in Somerville. It will go from the Clarendon Hill Apartments to Leechmere like it does today. We had proposed something different for it, but in the revised network, it will go from Clarendon Hill Apartments to Leechmere, down Somerville Ave by Market Basket, like it does today. There were some routes that we added to the proposal that were not in the May draft. I mentioned the T47. That was a new route we added to the proposal. It is partly what the 47 does today, but some other things as well. It's going to go to Union Square from Ruggles. There's the 80, which we did not have in the draft network. We put the 80 back and then also combine it with a different proposal that we had. So the 80 is going to go from Davis Square to Arlington Center. Right now it goes from Arlington Center to Leechmere, but a lot of it is duplicative of the Green Line extension. So, but not of course, all of it, because the Green Line extension only goes to Tufts University and Medford Hillside. So the 80 is going to go from Davis Square over to the Tufts Green Line station, up Boston Ave, and then over to Arlington Center. And then it's also going to keep going north. It actually goes up to Burlington and will do what we have been proposing for the 350. So it's a little different than what it does today, but it still provides that sort of last leg that's not covered by the Green Line extension in Arlington, Medford, and Somerville. Then there were some routes where we changed the frequency or the span. In some cases with routes, we extended how late into the night they went, or modified the frequency that they had. For the SL2, we had proposed that being a weekday peak period service only. We heard a lot of feedback on that from employers and employees, folks down in the South Boston Seaport, the Dry Dock Ave area that the SL2 serves today. So the SL2, we ended up making it a 7-day-a-week, all-day service in response to that feedback. And then lastly, there were some routes that were included in the May draft that are not included in this revised network because of the changes that we made to other routes. So the 20, for instance, it had been our proposal for what the 201 and 202 do. When we restored the 201 and 202, we sort of rescinded the proposal for the 20. The 350, as I mentioned, the service that it would have provided is now covered by the 80. So that's no longer in the proposal. There are just some other things that I want to highlight. I didn't mention the 113. That's a brand new route that we added into the proposal that goes from Chelsea to Assembly Row. So there were some routes that we had proposed that were admittedly really long. And if you have a really long route, it can potentially be susceptible to reliability issues because of traffic congestion or just the operating conditions on the street. And we believe that the reliability concerns can be addressed by things like bus lanes, transit signal priority, those kind of measures. But for some of the routes, they were really long. And when we talked to our bus operators about them, we heard some concerns about how long those routes were. And in some cases, it would be a lot to ask of an operator to make the route over and over again, potentially without breaks in between. So with some of the really, really long routes that we had in the proposal, we ended up breaking them up into sort of 2 routes in some cases. So a good example of that is what we had proposed for the 90. The 90 was going to go from Arlington Center through Somerville over to Assembly Row and then over to Chelsea by way of Everett Square. That's a really long bus route. So we sort of pared back that route. The 90, instead of going all the way over to Chelsea, it will end at Assembly Row, but then we added in this new Route 113, which connects Chelsea to Assembly Row. So that total route is still essentially possible. A person would make a transfer at Assembly Row, But for folks in Chelsea who want to get to Assembly, that 1-seat ride is there. Now I'll talk about next steps for this, and then we're happy to answer any questions folks have. So posted on the project website are a list of all the changes that we made to the draft map. We also have an interactive map and a static map that folks can go use to see the changes. And there's an online comment form, so folks can submit comments on the revised map to us. There's going to be a public meeting next Wednesday, November 2nd in the evening at 6 p.m. You can register for that. It's going to be a Zoom meeting. You can register for that on the project website. We're also conducting an equity analysis of this revised network, and that's underway right now. The results of that will be available at the end of November or beginning of December. And then once that's available, we'll hold another public meeting to present the results of that analysis. We're gonna bring this revised network in the form that it exists now to the board of directors, the MBTA board of directors, at their November meeting for their vote of approval. It'll be a sort of preliminary vote because their actual official approval is dependent upon that equity analysis. That's an FTA requirement for transit agencies when they want to do a service change above a certain threshold, and we meet that threshold because we're redesigning the entire network. So we'll ask the vote to do this preliminary, ask the board to do this preliminary vote of approval in November. Then we'll present folks the equity analysis in early December, and then we'll go back to the board at their December board meeting and present that analysis to them and ask for the official vote on this. While all of this is taking place, we're already considering how implementation of a new network would work. This is something we've been thinking about for a while, and some preliminary planning is underway. We're looking at all the places where we think we would need transit priority measures, where we would need new bus stops, where we would need new layover locations, operator facilities, and then we're working on a plan for updating all the signage and all the information about all these routes once the changes start being rolled out, including how to communicate all of this, all the changes to riders as they're planned ahead of time, because the implementation of this is expected to take 5 years. So we anticipate implementing it incrementally each year for a 5-year period, to the point where at year 5, we have this brand new network. But in the years in between, we're sort of getting there incrementally. So some changes could be made as early as next summer, but they would be noticed well ahead of time for folks, so folks would be aware, they'd understand how the changes would impact their trips. And basically the intent is for each summer for the next 5 years, we'd implement sort of a package of changes that change up to about 1/5 of the network. So you'd see it happening incrementally. Obviously, there's a challenge with the bus operator shortage that we're experiencing right now, and that basically every transit agency in the country is facing. So that's something that we're keeping in mind as we're working on this implementation plan and figuring out how this would be rolled out. We don't yet know exactly what routes would change each year, but that plan is being developed right now. There's also going to be a lot of construction work that has to happen in order to build those new bus stops, build bus lanes, install transit signals, things like that. And then there's the ongoing effort to modernize the fleet and facilities that we're coordinating with as we go through this. So that is the end of the presentation. Melissa and I are happy to answer any questions folks have about routes. We can talk about them. I can bring up maps if that's helpful. We can describe the changes until folks have their questions answered. Happy to stay here as long as folks have questions about this. Jessica, do you want to MC?
Happy to. That's why I popped in here. So yes, so did we want to open it up for Q&A? Rob, can you put up the Q&A slide for me? I just want to run over the housekeeping.
Here, let me stop sharing my screen.
All right, so now we're gonna have a little time for some Q&A for the Bus Network redesigns presentation. To indicate you have a question or comment, please use Zoom's raise hand feature located at the bottom of the screen. When you'd like to raise your hand, it'll alert me that you'd like to speak, and then we'll call on folks to ask questions in the order of which you raise your hands. Just some tips. To speak, you click the reactions button, then raise hand if you're on the computer. You can also just hit Alt-Y on your keyboard. And if you're on the phone, you dial *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute. I already see we have some raised hands. Susan Backstrom. And if you could just give us a second, Susan, we'll spotlight you. All right, you're all set, Susan.
Thanks, Jessica. Yeah, I was wondering about 99, 105, and 106. Are they going to pass the CHA Malden, or are they going to end up running parallel on the other side of the creek on the other street, more closer, I guess, to the Fellsway? I've got two questions, actually.
I'll defer to Melissa on that. I think we're both bringing up our maps so that we don't misspeak.
Let me check my map. And these remix maps, by the way, are on our website at mbta.com. So you're able to navigate and look at those. The CHA Malden, as I understand, that is on the west side.
Canal Street. Yeah, it's the west side of Canal Street.
So let's see.
On Canal Street, right? You said?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Well, we don't have anything on Canal Street, but we do have the, in the revised version of the map, we have the 99 doing sort of like what the 97 does, if you're familiar with the 97 bus, which is that it goes down Commercial Street and across on Medford Street, which kind of crosses near Canal Street. So I think that would probably be the closest option for getting to that CHA Malden. We'd originally had the 99 actually on the other side of the river. So
Yeah,
this is a
that's what I was
change.
wondering.
Right.
Yeah. All right. And then the 113, where does it go in Chelsea? What stop does it make?
Right. So this was a new route that we added to the map. Are we able to share a remix map? Is that something we can pull up?
Yes. As long as you have it.
Okay.
Melissa, if you want to share, you can. I have it open too if you want me to share my screen.
Or if you can share, that would be good. I'm terrible at
Sure.
talking and driving at the same time. But the
There we go.
113 new route that we've added in was primarily to get a connection between Chelsea and Everett over to Somerville. And especially one of the places that we heard from Chelsea residents that they were most excited to connect to was the Assembly Row area. When we had originally in the first version of this map proposed this, it was actually an extension of the Route 90. But because of the route length that Doug mentioned, we spun off the 113 to be its own route. So at the same time, we actually extended it a little bit farther into Chelsea. So this would start in Bellingham Square in Chelsea, near City Hall. Then it would get past Chelsea Station near the Market Basket, go up Everett Ave, and then connect across to Everett on Broadway, and then down into Sullivan and over to Assembly. So one of the things, we'd had some focus groups in Chelsea during the summer when we released the map the first time. And they had mentioned, they were excited about being able to get to Assembly Row in particular, but gosh, it didn't go to Bellingham Square. And there are a lot of people who were very interested in that extra extension.
I see Susan is clapping her hands for folks.
Oh,
Thank you for your
that warms
question
the heart.
and
Oh
comment,
gosh.
Susan. Let's see who's before I call on Tom, who's next. A lot of times maps like this are not the most accessible, and I'm sure that there are some folks here that may have difficulty navigating this, and especially folks that may use screen readers, etc. So if folks have questions on routes in order to provide some feedback to you and are not able to figure out the answers to their questions on these maps, where can they reach out?
Yeah, great question. So the list of changes to all the routes are embedded into the webpage for the revised maps. So if you use a screen reader and you go to that page, your screen reader will read out the changes that were made to all of the routes. But folks can also email our project email address. It's betterbusproject@mbta.com, and we'll obviously respond and provide any clarification that's necessary.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Tom, just give us a second, we'll spotlight you. All right, Tom, you're all set.
I have a question on a certain route, Doug and Melissa, on in regards to the 76 in Lexington. Nobody's talked about that one, and I was wondering if there were any plans of restoring that as an all-day route again, because I know people from Transit Matters has brought that up in Lexington about bringing that back, and also to mention on the 76th, there's a nursing home on that route that's on there, the Pine Knolls Nursing Center, and unfortunately it stops near there but doesn't stop in front of it, which would be a stop of interest. And nobody's brought up to 76, and I think that's got to be mentioned, because they mentioned that my mother is also at that nursing home, and I've had to go down there, and it's pretty having it in front of the nursing home would be a much safer place to wait for, because there's a nice wide sidewalk there, and then making a sidewalk on the opposite side of Crescent Road, because there's really just dirt there on the other side, and there's no light there for the driver to see you when you're waiting at night. So I was just wondering if there were any discussions with the town of Lexington on bringing back that as an all-day service again, as opposed to it's just in the morning and it's only in the afternoon. And even if it's every hour, it's through the morning and afternoon, I mean, it'd be something there. So I was just wondering what was being done about that.
Thanks for that Tom question. That's actually something that we had heard from our initial round of outreach when we released the map. So back in May, when we released the map, we had proposed that it would be a rush hour only route. But based on some of the feedback we heard, in the new version of the map, it's proposed to be rush hours plus midday service. So that folks would still be able to have midday options to get there. And then we also had some other slight reroutes on the Cambridge and end of the route. We're having it travel into Acorn Park Drive, which was something that City of Cambridge had asked for, to get closer to some of the residences and offices and other developments that are on Acorn Park Drive. And sometimes Route 2, when it's congested, it's not moving particularly fast anyway. So it's a pretty reliable speed road, even though it's slightly longer. And then the last route change that we'd had on the 76 was also taking it up Mass Ave a little bit farther to get into Lexington Center. We actually were already serving Lexington Center with this 62 bus. That's the one that goes all the way up to Bedford VA. But based on feedback we'd heard from Lexington, they were very interested in having the two different routes that stop there so that they could have better frequency, serving kind of the main center of Lexington. And I think
I did also want to make you aware that there is a nursing home facility on that route, and that's right now it only stops at Peacock Farm, which it should be moved up and moved in front of the nursing home, because there's a light up sign there at night from the nursing home facility itself, and in a safe sidewalk to board at. And I think it would be good to have it moved up in front of the nursing home facility.
Yeah, let me take that down. Certainly stop locations are things that we, if the bus is already passing by on, I think that's Watertown Street.
It's 30 Watertown Street. That's where the Pine Knolls facility is located at. It's at 30 Watertown Street.
Certainly that's stop locations. We have stops shown on the map, but don't take the stop locations that we have too literally. Certainly it's showing, it's pulling in existing stop locations, But as part of the bus network redesign effort, we are planning to, put in new bus stops in different locations, or if there are opportunities through this or Patty or other initiatives to improve stops. That's something that
Because
we're
the nursing home
interested in.
facility side it is a perfect patio area because there is an existing sidewalk there, and the town of Lexington can provide like a wooden bench to sit down at and everything. It's the other side that I'm very concerned about on the Crescent Road side. There's like a curb, but it's just it's just a dirt sidewalk. It's not really like a sidewalk. There's like a curb there, but it's all grass and dirt area to wait by the bus stop sign. It's not very safe on the Crescent Road side of where the nursing home side that, to be honest, is perfectly safe, but it's the side on the opposite side that isn't very safe. And then every time I wait for it, that people think I want to cross the street, and I always have to tell them, no, I'm waiting for the bus. I'm waiting for the bus, and it's really nerve wracking and everything, and it just doesn't make sense to me.
That's good to know. Yeah, we'll definitely take a look at that and talk to the folks who are working on implementation about it.
Thanks, Doug. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I guess I'm all set for now.
Thanks, Tom. Great questions as always. Next, we have Jerry Boyd.
Yes,
There you
Thank
go.
you, Jen.
All set.
thank you, Jessica, and thank you, Doug and Melissa for your presentation and your very hard work on this, and for your presentation earlier last week to the plaintiffs group and the RTAG executive board as well, which has provided us, a good opportunity to provide feedback and whatnot. So, and I look forward to continuing that. My question is, or my comment is, or question is more of a general nature. And Doug, you touched on this towards the end of your presentation. You said implementation will be dependent upon, the driver shortage and whatnot. So, for my thinking right now, this is kind of redesign is very, very tenuous in terms of being able to implement it. Have you really thought about? Have you guys really thought about realistically whether you'll have to cut back on some of the plans, or what if the hiring, you're not able to get up to sufficient hiring levels? Then what happens?
That's a really great question. So the hope is that over the 5-year period that we'd be implementing this, we'd be able to increase our operator headcount, really staff up over that period. So by year 5 would be providing all of this service that's included in this new network. The T has taken a lot of steps lately to increase operator headcount. They just changed the rules about requiring a CDL in order to become a bus operator. So they just changed that, and now they're handling commercial driver's license training differently than they used to be. It used to be required that you already had to have a CDL. So they just changed that requirement. I know that the folks in HR at MassDOT and the MBTA are trying to figure out as many ways as they can to address the operator shortage, including talking to other agencies in the country about what's working for them. So obviously there is the shortage today, and that's an issue for nearly every single transit agency across the country. But the hope is that, over this 5-year period, we'll be able to address that shortage and staff up to the number of operators that we have.
Just if
Okay,
I could add on a couple of things to that, Doug, to what Doug said. We have a committee of folks who are looking at many, many different things that we could do to make the position of bus operator more appealing. And some of those things might be, paying them more, or we're looking at kind of expanding advertising our sign-on bonus, or looking at different referral bonuses. One of the other major pain points that we've heard from exit interviews and from feedback at our operator lobbies also relates to how we construct operator work assignments. Sometimes the newest employees are the ones that get the very long split days where they might work, 6 to 9 o'clock in the morning because we have a rush hour then. So there's a lot of service that we're operating for the morning rush. And then they have a break and they're not paid. And then they come back and they work from 3 o'clock till 6 o'clock in the afternoon. And those split shifts is what we call it, when you have kind of a morning and then a long break and then an afternoon. Those split shifts we've heard are very hard. They can be really disruptive to a family's schedule or to getting a second job or to trying to take classes. So we're looking at different ways to maybe construct our work assignments in different ways to make things more appealing. So we have a pretty cross-functional team that's looking at many different types of strategies to make the position more appealing in different ways.
Well, I do know that that's an issue on the paratransit side as well. It's just, I hope that you're able to implement, most of what you're, since you've gone through such not trouble, but you've gone to such lengths to redesign the network and make it, hopefully more accessible. I hope you're able to implement the plans that you've outlined, so. Thank you. Jessica, you're muted.
So am I back?
Yeah.
Can hear you now.
Okay, thanks, sorry. I just wanted to point out that we had a thumbs up, Jerry, to your comment from Michelle Styler, Chief of Paratransit Services. So she heard you on that one too. I think we're at 6:30, so perfect timing. If we want to go ahead and switch off now to our presentation and Q&A period on the ride. Thank you both to Melissa and Doug for joining us tonight. I know you guys have had a very, very long day, so thank you. And folks, if you have any further questions or comments around bus network redesign, please reach out to them and also share your concerns with RTAG. Thank you very much. Next, we're going to hear from Michelle Styler, Chief of Paratransit Operations.
Thank you, Jessica. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me. I'm unmute, right? Okay, well, thank you for joining me on our first sunny day, and I think it's been 4 days. I'll be reporting out on ride metrics for September. Ridership continues to trend up. Although August to September was relatively flat, we saw a significant increase in year-over-year for September. September 2022 was up 24% compared to September of 2021. We provided 112,685 trips in September, and it can be further broken out by DSPs and NDSPs, which are dedicated service providers and non-dedicated service providers. DSPs were 67,162 and non-dedicated were 45,523. The next slide, please. Our on-time performance declined slightly from August. Our on-time performance for September was 88%. This decline can be attributed to the ongoing driver shortage and high levels of driver call-outs. Next slide, please. We received 97,890 calls in September. Our average hold time for reservations was 10.7 minutes. We continue to work with TRAC to address call center staffing challenges. We review staff levels and ongoing initiatives weekly. Our providers are focused on both recruitment and retention. And I'm happy to report that 2 new reservationists were onboarded in October. Some of the items that we're looking at are exactly what you heard earlier, which are schedule adjustments, wage adjustments, hiring and referral bonuses, and performance-based incentives. Next slide, please. We received 229 complaints and 40 commendations for the month of September. Next slide, please. We meet monthly with the RTAG subcommittee. An invitation for a tour of track was extended to the subcommittee. The tour included a presentation and meet and greet with several track staff members. We received positive feedback from the participants and look forward to a review with the full group in our next meeting. We appreciate the commitment of RTAG and its members and look forward to continued collaboration. Next slide, please. The health and safety of our customers and drivers is important to the ride. To adhere to the Federal Transit Administration complimentary service requirements, the ride will suspend the face mask requirement for paratransit riders. We are working through the internal details, and an effective date has not yet been determined. We will continue to require face masks be worn by our drivers and will remind our customers that they are welcome to wear a mask when traveling on the ride. Regarding ride partnerships, the ride team continues to explore opportunities to enhance the service that we provide to our customers. We will be adding service providers in the upcoming months, which will allow us to put more vehicles and drivers on the road to meet our customers' transportation needs. Additional messaging will be shared soon. Next slide, please. Ride contractors are hiring. We would be happy if you could share this and encourage applicants. Our service providers recently participated in MBTA Employment Fair on October 13th. And again, we appreciate any assistance in sharing this for us. Next slide, please. This is simply a list of key ride contacts. And then I would like to open to questions. And I see Peter has his hand raised, but I will let Jessica run the show.
Thank you, Michelle. So next we're gonna open it up for questions and comments for the ride. Sorry, it took something in my throat. To indicate that you have a question, please use Zoom's raise hand feature located at the bottom of the screen. So when you raise your hand, it'll alert me that you'd like to speak and that you have a comment. And then please unmute and we'll call on folks to ask their questions in the order that they raise their hands. Once again, you can click the reactions button, then raise hand on your keyboard, Alt-Y. And if you're on the phone, you can dial *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute. All right, we have a few hands raised. Peter, just give us a second to spotlight you, Peter.
All right.
All right, you're all set.
All right, I'm in the spotlight. I feel like a star now. Hello, everyone. Michelle,
Peter's favorite place is in the spotlight. Sorry.
that's right. By the way, it is.
I couldn't resist it.
So Michelle,
Mhm.
I'm going to start off by prefacing. I've been using the ride since 1977.
Mhm.
Okay. There's never been an issue with the size of my wheelchair. I don't hang out or anything. About 20 years ago, you guys, before you even came aboard, the ride got new vans because I believe it was Dodge was no longer making them. So when you switch to the new vans, which are Fords, I believe,
Mhm.
one of the things you did with the T did, I don't mean you, is
Right.
they went to a smaller size lift. Now, for the past, I think 20 or 30 years, it's been like that. I've had no issues. I suddenly get a call from this guy, Mike, who wants to come out and measure my wheelchair, have a ride van. We scheduled an appointment and I explained to him clearly it had to be done when the weather was near 80 degrees because of my respiratory problems.
Mhm.
So we had an appointment scheduled. He canceled it and rescheduled it. He then canceled that one and then said he'd get back to me. I let him know. He told me the dimensions on the safety. I guess there's a safety factor with the lift about the size of the chair.
Yes.
Mind you, I've had no problems ever since you switched to this lower lift. He said the chair couldn't be over 54 inches in length and couldn't hang out. Well, I know I don't hang out, but I'm 5 feet tall, which means 5'2", which means my chair, of course, is over 54 inches because it has to accommodate my body. I cannot sit up. My disability prevents me from sitting up. So he calls me the other day and says, oh, last week, and he wanted to come out this Tuesday. I said, Mike, I told you in our previous conversation that it needs to be warmer weather, like in the 80s, because he thought, and then he said, oh, I thought you said cooler. I said, no, Mike, my respiratory problems, I have to go out only in the warm weather. So he then started giving me the 3rd degree. So you never go out in the cold weather? I says, well, I do have a doctor's appointment scheduled in December, which I may have to cancel. I have to see exactly how cold it's going to be. Because what happens to me is when I go out and it doesn't look like I'm getting sick, but then a day or two later, it will hit me and I'll have a hard time breathing. And the doctors don't want that, of course. I don't want that. So when did all of a sudden the ride decide that after 30 years of these new lifts, I think it's been about 30, I think it happened in the early to mid 90s, did they decide that now they were going to start measuring people's wheelchairs, not letting them take, he didn't say whether, my guess is if my chair doesn't conform to what it's supposed to, he's going to say I can't use the ride anymore. The issue isn't the person's disability. The issue is the T will need, if they're not going to let wheelchairs like mine on the lift, then they need to switch the lifts to the bigger lift that accommodates it. I've had no problems with the smaller lift. I fit fine. The chair goes up fine. I've been doing it for years. So I know I'm not the only one in the situation like this. So I think that's wrong.
Okay, Peter, and thank you. Thank you for reaching out. The request for a site visit was largely driven by me, who wanted to be certain that we understood what the challenge was. I know that you've spoken to us about it, so I had requested that Mike reach out to you to set up a site visit. And what we were looking to do was ensure that the safety team was there, that we had a representative from system-wide accessibility. And part of that is obviously we want to be able to secure you safely. And I am relatively new to the MBTA, so I would like to be present as well. And I will tell you that the first appointment that Mike set up for you, I canceled because I wanted to extend the invite to other people. We recognize that there are some challenges with the weather, and I would like to work with you. We are not looking to remove you from the system, but to really understand what the challenges are, what measurements we're talking about. And I do understand that the vehicles have changed, and you're telling me that the lift has changed as well. So this is a fact finding and information gathering intent.
Okay, because that's not the way he presented it. Because if you remember, my concern had nothing to do with the lift. What I brought up was the problems with dispatch, because when I'm on the van, you can't fit a second wheelchair because on these new vans, the seats don't go up in the front, like in the old vans they used to. It had nothing to do with the lift. My problem isn't with the lift, but the way Michael was presenting the information is completely different than what you just presented.
No, it's more about gathering information and understanding the challenges.
But that's not what he said. He made it sound like if my chair doesn't conform to the safety measure of the lifts, I'm not going to be able to use the ride. I've been using it, like I said, since '77. I've been going on these new lifts for years, no problems. So it sounded more like a threat to me.
No, that's not at all.
And, you know, Okay,
No, that wasn't at all the intent. The intent is just to fully understand what the challenge is, what you're trying to convey to us, to document it, for me to be present so I can understand it, for other team members to be there to hear
Okay.
you and understand what the challenge is. And it sounds like at this point, based on the weather, it would be difficult to reschedule that site visit. If you are able to schedule an appointment and travel on the ride and would like to reach out with us, if that's going to occur, we can work with our schedules to meet with you. But that's what we were looking to do.
okay. You know, when if I reserve the ride, it'll be in the system and you should be able to see it. I have no way to reach out to you.
Peter,
don't-
if you let us know, because you have my,
Okay.
you know how to reach me, Peter. So if you reach
No,
out.
I don't have your email because you're no longer working at our, is it?
No, I still have an active email there, so I still get that email. I'm
Oh,
still-
okay, okay.
So I am still get those emails. So yes. So you email me there, and we can also help bridge that communication as well.
Okay, and
Can
to be
can
clear,
I?
so,
Oh, go ahead,
I'm
Peter.
sorry. So I just wanted it to be clear. This isn't to find a way to stop me from using the ride.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So if my chair doesn't conform to the safety measures on the lift, I'm still gonna be able to use the ride as I've been doing.
Now, Peter, I can't speak to that because I think it's important that we capture that. But the intent is to make sure that you're able to take the ride. We are not looking to prevent you from taking the ride.
I just want to clarify that, Michelle, when you say looking to be, I think also there, Peter, there's a larger discussion here that helped fuel this. And let me, is it okay, Michelle, if I jump in with some of that background of the conversation we're having? So Peter, if you remember, I think at RTAG meetings, we've been hearing over and over again, and I think RTAG helped push the need for this a little bit and did ask for a version of this to occur. That there were several issues where wheelchair users were expressing that the new vehicles were too small to accommodate 2 wheelchairs, but that according to the standards, the ADA standards,
Right.
it did, but the actual reality was that it wasn't happening. And I know you were one of those people.
Right.
And so I think the goal for this site visit was for Michelle to, and at least this is what I'm hoping, Michelle, the goal was.
Yes.
The goal
To
was
observe it, to capture the
see it.
information, to document it.
And to be able to see it, the actual, what it actually looked like, and then so that in the future procurements, they don't buy the wrong vehicles again. Not, you know what I mean? Not,
And
they
I
don't,
wouldn't say the wrong vehicles, but that
they
we're
don't buy
mindful,
vehicles
right.
that won't meet the needs of actual people, and not just the standard sized folks, or that the ADA standard sized.
And our list does exceed the standard, and when it's possible and we're looking toward procurement, when we're able to, we do look to exceed that.
Right. But you get what I'm saying, that it's,
Yes.
the vehicles are the appropriate size to the
I,
average user.
I get the thing about the vehicles being the appropriate size. My concern, again, isn't this, you know, sure, the vehicle should be bigger. But I think the real problem is, for me, the vehicle doesn't have to be bigger. It's that the front seats don't go up. That's the real issue.
Okay.
So if the seats went up, I could fit, like I usually do, I go up to the front and then a wheelchair fits behind me, but I can't do that. So
And
you
Peter,
can't
I think that's the kind of stuff that they were hoping to capture. when they
Right,
met.
but that's not what Mike told me.
Understood.
And that is a problem because you know, if it turns out I do this thing with you guys and then I get a letter saying I can't use the ride, there will be problems. Because I do need to be able to use the ride. I can't use any other transportation. I'm not going to use Lyft. I'm not going to use Uber. I know the ride drivers. They know how to do my chair. So I'm staying with, you know, I use the regular ride and I will continue to do that. That's all I want to make
Thank you.
sure.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Peter. All right, we have a few other hands. Sandy Novak.
Okay.
Michelle, I have a question
Sandy,
about.
can you just give us a second to spotlight you? Okay, you're all set. Thanks.
Thank you. Michelle, I have a question about the one or two sentences you said about mask policy revision. Did you say that that's a federal guidance, or how did you word it?
Yes, we are obligated to provide complimentary service to the fixed route. The MTA does not require our customers, the MBTA does not require customers to wear masks. Therefore, we cannot require our customers on the ride to wear masks.
Okay, but that's a guidance, and I just want to put out there that the reason many of us use the ride is because we're more vulnerable in many ways. And especially since earlier tonight, we were discussing the driver shortage. And what that means is that when I've been on the ride lately, we're packed with customers. We've got maybe 2 people in wheelchairs, plus me, plus, you know, somebody brought a PCA or somebody with them. And to try and maneuver around the wheelchairs, we're practically nose to nose kissing practically. I mean, and so they're now calling the situation with the COVID and the flu and RSV that's circulating a triple-demic, because so many viruses are around all at once. And I think, therefore, that this is a very poor time to consider, you know, asking people to, you know, be free to do what you choose to do, whether you want to wear a mask or you don't want to wear a mask. Because usually people who are coughing a lot or sneezing a lot feel that the mask is in their way from sneezing and coughing or whatever, but yet they're getting everybody else sick, as anybody who walks into a supermarket or whatever else can tell you. So I would ask for the ride to really view it as perhaps a guidance, but maybe don't follow that guidance. I think too many of us are very vulnerable, and between COVID, the flu, and RSV, there are just too many viruses going around right now.
Thank you, Sandy. I hear you and I understand you, and I can tell you that the RIDE team would love to extend that policy, but we're unable to. We have to remain consistent with the agency's policy, and the agency has lifted. We can't defer from the agency policy, and that was guidance from the FTA.
Well, then when you do get back to all of us about, you know, when this is going to be effective, can you make a solid plug for that, your strong encouragement for the safety of everybody who's riding with them, that everybody wear a mask?
We're hopeful that the majority of our customers are going to continue to mask, and we've instructed our drivers to continue to wear masks. And I look forward to your feedback. Feel free to share your experiences on board with us. We are doing what we can to continue to strongly encourage our customers to mask.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sandy. Next, we have Elizabeth Dienklauer.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear you. Okay, you're not on, so we can't spotlight you. Okay, you're all set.
Okay, thank you. A couple of just a separate issue, and then I'm in closing, just like to make 2 quick comments related to prior questions that won't take long. The the question is, I know, Michelle, that the RIDE subcommittee is still having discussions with you about people's eligibility status expiring and having there be different scenarios. I think in this general meeting forum, it's important for people to know where that stands, because I myself happened to come across, we knew there were ones where all people had to do was a 5-minute phone interview. Other people had to have an appointment and go in person. I myself came across a situation where mine had expired. I wasn't aware that the postcard had come. My status had expired. I was informed that I would be able to get an extension until I could get an appointment. And then when someone called me back, they did the 5-minute version over the phone. So I just think it would be helpful for people, if they find themselves in this situation, to know. I would think that what's intended is for fairness across the board, is at the very least that people have an opportunity to have an extension. In my case, I learned of my ineligibility over the weekend, so was not able to take a trip, an anticipated trip on a Sunday. But that people would at least have an extension. And then we're still trying to clarify with your team what is the policy of why some require an in-person appointment and some don't. Thanks.
Thank you, Elizabeth. So yes, we do grant extensions. We're also looking at notification. Ideally, we do 30 days out. Ideally, my preference would be 2 notifications, and we're reviewing that internally to allow for more time and people to prepare and contact the mobility center. With respect to recertifications, we can work on that because we've had several questions recently. And I think that that's a great topic to step through at one of the RTAG subcommittee meetings.
Okay, well, as I said, I just wanted folks to know that if their own eligibility status comes in question, there is, and regardless of which way it's handled, that there is at least an opportunity for an extension. And yeah.
I was going to say that there is, and also, and we're certainly willing to listen to RTAG members and our customers, but we are still working. We're making little tweaks as we go on our messaging, and where we think we can emphasize, place more information, provide clarifications. We'd be happy to discuss that with you, because it sounds like the eligibility process, perhaps we can do something with too. We also talked about cheat sheets and updating our frequently asked questions and other literature and more frequently updated information, but driven largely by customers.
Okay, thanks. The other comment was in follow-up to Peter's point. I think what I'm realizing is a different way than you might have heard it mentioned across a group of people in wheelchairs who don't have Peter's long established specialized situation, is that many power wheelchairs and some manual wheelchairs have capabilities of reclining. You know, they can be in a vertical sitting position, but the backs of these recline. For some people, the footrests need to be brought out to a certain height. So to just see them in an upright position and have standard measurements does not, I think that's why it doesn't adequately indicate the reality for that person. That again, even if someone's issue isn't, can they get on and off the lift, and be, as we've had the prior discussions about the current, the fixed bench in the front. And we know that there isn't something that can be immediately remedied about that, but I think that's why we'll continue to have discussions with you about how to accommodate situations where a situation really does have to be considered a one wheelchair. Not in every case, perhaps, but that even knowing the dimensions of a given chair isn't going to explain the spatial reality for that particular passenger. So I just wanted to elaborate on that, that there are other, as Peter had said, there are other people in his situations, but there are other situations where it would not be evident looking at the chair or the person's, visual or whatever, their indication of their status in all circumstances, but when they're especially going over bumpy Boston roads, in order to do so, for good health, safety, and comfort, that the chair needs to be positioned differently. So that'll be an ongoing. We look forward to working with you on that. Thank you.
I wouldn't disagree with that. And I think that that's something that we can speak to mobility about, the mobility center about, is capturing information accurately. And perhaps also, and that's why we do recertifications. If someone's situation has changed, if their device has changed, it's important that we capture that information to be able to provide service. So I look forward to a discussion about eligibility determinations and recertifications. Thank you.
Thanks,
I see.
Elizabeth. Next we have, can everyone hear me? Is my audio on? Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're on.
Sorry, sometimes this computer cuts in and out. Next, we have another question from Sandy Novak and then Mick Cepeda. Sandy?
Thank you. I want to second what Elizabeth brought up about eligibility. I did realize that I had not gotten my eligibility notice, and I was about to run out of being able to make appointments. And I was told I would have it in about 5 business days. I didn't have it, so I called again. Make a long story short, I called 4 to 5 times. It took me incredibly, and I spoke to probably just about everybody on your staff while trying to get through about this. And every single person told me they'd put it in the mail again. Finally, I got this very nice man. At the moment, I'm blanking on his name, but I know I wrote it in my records, who said that he would personally put it in the mail. He didn't know what the problem was, but he would tell people that there was a problem, and he would put a copy in the mail. So after about a month of calling, I finally did get not 1, but 4 copies of the renewal application within a few days of each other. So that to me means there's some sort of operations issue going on, that the mail wasn't actually leaving your building, or some system kind of issue was going on. In the meantime, what I did is, after the first 3 times when I hadn't gotten 3 different applications, I did call or rather I wrote the ride by email, and I said that there's an issue, I still don't have it, and I was told by the eligibility center that they can't email it to me because I thought emailing would cut through whatever postal issue there was. And the ride confirmed that they can't do email, but that he forwarded, or he or she, I don't know, it just said it was signed by the ride team, I think, the way the response was signed. It said that they forwarded my complaint about all these efforts to get an application, and I still didn't have one after a number of weeks, to the eligibility center, and that the eligibility center emailed me back already. And I just sat there staring at my computer because no eligibility center had called me or emailed me back. And so when I had that last man, the last time I called the eligibility center, I ran it by him that, the ride complaint email people, they think that somebody at the eligibility center emailed me a response. He said, oh no, we never do emails. He said, I don't know what they were thinking of. So again, it's another operations issue. Just like the mail isn't going through, somehow the people who answer complaints aren't really communicating with the eligibility center about who can contact who by email and who doesn't do email. And so, I mean, it left me with a really bad taste in my mouth that I was working so hard just to get an application. And in the meantime, no matter who I talked to, nobody was solving it except that one man who stuck something in the mail. And it wouldn't surprise me if he's the one who also checked why all the other ones weren't coming through, and all of a sudden all the other ones came through also, except all in 1 week. And then to add to it, I had a 8:30 a.m. Eligibility appointment, and the ride got me there early at 8 a.m. and I was locked out. And I used the lift, so we had gotten me off the lift, up that long ramp, and there I was standing there with my walker. And the driver turns to me and says, you have to turn around, I have to get you back on the lift until they open at 8:30. And I said, I don't have it in me to, come and go and come and go. I said, I'm just going to stand here until somebody comes and lets us in. He said, well, he wants to be able to actually leave me there because he had somebody else on the van waiting for him to, get back on the van and drop that person off. So when I got a survey in the mail from the ride asking how my eligibility trip went, I mentioned the trouble just getting an application, but I also mentioned the fact that maybe you shouldn't schedule eligibility appointments until 9 if you don't open until 8:30, rather than have people get all the way up that ramp just to, be told by the driver to come all the way back down the ramp and back on the van lift. I mean, you have to think about who you're driving, and you're driving frail people to begin with, by and large. So you don't want to leave them standing outside waiting to get in.
Okay, Sandy, I know that you addressed several issues. First off, I want to apologize and tell you that I'm disappointed to hear that was your experience. I have staff members on this call, and I am going to ask them to pull the information that we have for you to take a look at what happened with respect to those applications and the email information. Regarding
also the survey, I also filled out the survey, so you can ask to see the survey that I mailed back to the eligibility center, because I wrote all this out to them in the survey response I had.
We'll work to get all the information that you provided, because I'd really like to take a look at where the breakdown was. I can tell you that there had been some reports of people arriving early for their appointments, and we've taken several measures to ensure that that doesn't happen any longer. So that we're looking at. Your complaint and survey hasn't made it to me, but again, I know I have an entire team on this call right now, and we're going to be pulling that information so we can take a look at it and to do what we can to ensure something like that doesn't happen again.
I just remembered the name of a nice man who, when he mailed it out, I got it. Julius.
Julius.
He was extremely nice.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sandy. Mick? Hang on, Mick, we gotta spotlight you. All right, Mick, you're all set.
Okay. I don't use the ride, basically because I was denied 3 times and I stopped applying. My mom, who also had dementia and was used a walker, was also denied several times before she passed away 2 years ago. So I do not use the ride, but I have several ladies who who are in my church who have also applied, and they have had a lot of difficulty getting on the ride. And I wanted to address the gentleman's concern regarding the width of the, of the vehicles. And being at the hospital, I usually sit around for a while and just talk to people who have disabilities or some people who don't. And I have heard several comments and complaints concerning how small the lift has become to accommodate their wheelchairs or to accommodate them actually like standing up and getting into the vehicles. I also wanted to address the mask concern. I am a person who has over 48 allergies. As a standard, I also have allergies to, what my sons call the good stuff. And so it has gotten increasingly more and more difficult for me to go on the public transportation. So and since, like I said, I've been denied to the ride, which right now, from hearing what everyone else is saying, doesn't seem to be too much of a choice for me. But the mask issue to me is very important. I have been fully vaccinated, but I have had COVID 3 times. I also, like I said, have a lot of allergies, and wearing a mask or having people coughing, even while I'm wearing a mask, having people around me on purpose coughing or just standing in front of you and want you to move, and they do one of these movements is really an issue. And I understand regulations and things, but just like my problem with Cadillac baby carriages on public transportation, I'm sure there's something that can be done or can be worked on. And I just wanted to make that comment and get feedback if I can from, I'm sorry, this is my first time on here. So I really don't know the name of anybody that's dealing with the ride right now.
Okay, so I understand. Thank you for sharing your concerns with us. With respect to the mask, I would encourage you to wear a mask, and I can assure you that our drivers are going to continue to wear masks. That we clean our vehicles regularly, but there will come a point shortly, and we will provide as much notice as possible where our customers are no longer going to be required to wear a mask.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to be certain that you understood what would make you eligible to take the ride. The ride is for people that are unable to take the fixed route service. And I wanted to see if you understood eligibility, and would you like us to have somebody reach out to you to explain how you meet that?
And I guess at this point, I would be interested because, like I said, I'm one of the named plaintiffs. I'm sorry, I forgot, I didn't introduce myself, but I'm a named plaintiff. And I am very interested because people ask a lot of questions. And since I am a named plaintiff, people know who I am. And being a pastor, people also think that pastors know everything there is to know about every subject. And so I get asked a lot of questions. And yes, if I could get something like in writing where I could talk to people or orient people, even people that are sitting at the hospital just waiting and figuring out how they could get, what would make them eligible for the ride besides being in a wheelchair. Because they also have been denied and they don't really understand why, would be very helpful. And I would appreciate that.
We can provide some literature to you, and we can have someone reach out to you to step through what would make a person eligible for the ride.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Mick. It was good to see you. Next we have Debbie Weathers. Debbie, are you still with us?
I'm just trying to unmute myself.
Okay, great. Are you on, I'm sorry, I don't have the gallery mode. Are you on video?
No, I'm not on video.
Okay, so then we can't spot. All right, so then you're all set.
Okay, I have a question. It has pertained to getting there, like the lady said, hours early and way hours early than you have to be there. And I'm still fighting with that issue. Now, I've done just about everything they've asked me to. They've asked me to call the night before. And when I see the time they're going to pick me up, and I've done that. And I've called them to let them know. And I've also asked them for my estimated time of arrival for that day. Now, I live about like 15 minutes, if that, away from the Faulkner. They'll pick me up 2 hours early. I called them the night before. I said, you're picking me up 2 hours early, then I need to be there. I said, what's my estimated time of arrival? They give me the time, half an hour. The time they gave me was a half an hour from the time I was supposed to be there. That's acceptable. So the day we go, I get there an hour and 13 minutes early. And I said, and the night before, I said to the guy, I said, I've been through this several times. Them drop me off early and picking me up late. I said, now, I was told that I didn't have to get up. They got me there too early. I did not have to get off that ride until a half an hour before my appointment time. So when I asked them that the night before, I said to them, I said, look, I said, if they drop me off an hour and a half earlier or anything like that, I'm not getting off. He said, you don't have to, you got that half hour. So I get there and I said to the driver, I said, where are we going? Who you dropping off? He said, I'm dropping you off. I said, you're gonna get there too early. So he got there, like I said, and I said, well, I'm not getting off. I'm telling you now. I already did all this last night. I've got letters telling me that I didn't have to get off. So when we got there, the driver said, well, you can get, I said, I'm not getting off. I went through all of this. So he calls dispatch. So dispatch asked him, he told him what time I was supposed to be there. He said she doesn't have to get off till a half an hour. Drop the other passenger and come back. So the driver was upset. So while he's driving there, he said, well, you're gonna be late. You're gonna be late for your appointment. And I didn't say anything. So I'm sitting there. I said, well, depends on where he's going. So he goes to Dedham, gets the lady there earlier than she has to do, and then he's sitting there. And I said, are we gonna leave? And he didn't let the other passenger off. And he goes, no. I said, I'm not letting her off till the time she's supposed to be there. Well, she was also 45 minutes early for her appointment. So he said, we're gonna sit here till I let her off. So the girl's saying, well, I can get off, the door is open. I can get off and go on in. So he's still sitting there and he's saying, well, we're not getting off because I'm not leaving. I'm not putting you off till the time you're supposed to be there. Now she wanted to get off, but he wouldn't let her off. So eventually the girl said, well, I have to go to the bathroom, so I need to get off. So he lets her off and he sits there. And I said, so we're just gonna sit here till you make me late? Well, you should have got off when I brought you there. I said, I was told I didn't have to. And the dispatch told you that I didn't have to. Well, I'm not moving until I get ready. I said, okay. And meanwhile, I started calling, trying to get hold to the ride while I was on there. I kept calling the ride and calling the ride. Nobody was answering. Nobody was picking up. And then he said something else. And I said, like, shit, I'm tired of this. Oh, now you done cussed off me. I'm not taking you nowhere. I said, you provoked that. I said, we're sitting here doing nothing. You can take me back to where we're supposed to be, but you insisted on sitting here because from the time we left that hospital, you said you were going to make me late. And that's just what you're doing. And so I reported all of this. I sent a letter back to them. They sent me the same information they always sent me. You don't have to get out for a half an hour. I said, I had all those papers in front of me when he did this. I said, I was so upset, I was hyperventilating because I've never gotten to that point of where I had to hyperventilate because I was that upset that I could hardly talk. And safety that came out there knows that because I was talking to him. And even he said, He wasn't, he said, that's a long time. I said, I know that. I said, I've only done what they've asked me to do. In doing this situation, I still got the same letter back that says the same thing. And that's not helping me if you're not portraying that to the drivers. And
Debbie,
they're taking attitudes.
what I'd like to do, it sounds like you submitted a complaint. Did you say you
Yes,
submitted
I
a
did.
complaint?
I submitted a complaint because I submitted a complaint because this was done to me before. They left me
Okay.
off an hour and a half early.
So
I
what
submitted a
I'd like to
complaint,
do.
and the letter that I got from the first complaint told me everything that I did this second time, and it was still an issue.
What I'd like to do is retrieve your complaint, review it, and then speak to our providers and find out how it was addressed. So I'd like to dig into it just a little bit more. And I'd also be inclined to pull some of your trip history to take a look at what's been happening.
Okay. Because after that last time I asked them, I said, well, can I, the first time they did it, I said, well, you dropped me off here early. I'm finished way too early. So I'm just sitting around here for like 3-4 hours waiting. And I said, well, can you just switch it? Because I have the flex. I said, can you just switch it? Oh, we can't do that. They gave me all these excuses that they couldn't do that. And then they said, you're not being picked up till this time. I said, yeah, but I asked for this time. You added another half an hour on to the pickup time. I said, and they still were 45 minutes late picking me up. So I was
Debbie,
there.
we're gonna take a look at your complaint. We're gonna take a look at your trip history, the provider and the drivers, and we'll see what is happening. I'd like to think that the providers, again, I don't have everything here in front of me, but I'd like to pull that information, take a look at it, and follow up with you.
Okay.
I hear how frustrated you are. I can imagine that was an awful experience. Thank you.
It really was.
Thank you, Debbie, for coming and sharing that tonight. Next, we have time for, I think, 1 or 2 more comments before we wrap up. Peter?
Thank you. I just wanted to.
Peter, hold on so we can spotlight you. Okay, you're all set.
I'm back again.
You're jumping in. Hold on. You're all
Okay.
set. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Elizabeth and Mick for their comments about, the lift and the stuff about the accessibility on the vans being small and the lift and stuff like that, because, that's really an issue. I hope in the future, maybe a work group can get together to discuss, a plan on, okay, when the T orders vans, what do we really need as far as the lift size, so that, it's, the safety regulations are good for all size wheelchairs, I mean, and to make sure that the front seats are able to go up. I understand the vans are ADA compliance, but what the ADA doesn't take into account is the size of a wheelchair. It doesn't take that into account. I mean, I've gone into buildings where the restrooms are ADA compliance, but due to the length of my chair, I don't fit in. So I get that the vans are ADA compliance, but that doesn't mean when the T orders vans, they can't maybe say, hey, look, we've got to accommodate everybody.
Peter, I hear you and understand, and I wasn't here for the procurement of the vehicles that we have right now. But I have spoken with the team, and they told me that there was an RTAG member that participated in the procurement. And I can assure you that moving forward on vehicle procurement, we would do the same thing. I also believe that we, at that time, bought the best of vehicles available to us at that time. It does appear that the mobility devices may be getting larger. And as we move forward, we will certainly consult our TAG members and be thorough about our research.
That would be good. I mean, yeah. That'd be great.
At the time it was done, though, they got the best of what they could get that was available.
No, I don't doubt that. But now that we know this issue is coming up now, 30 years later, or 25 years later, we now know, okay, we've got to address it. That's all I want the T to do is
and I agree. I agree wholeheartedly that this is information that we take note of and that we use it to inform our decisions moving forward. And I can assure you that we will have an RTAG member included in this procurement as well.
And I also suggest maybe that ride passengers are included to make sure, you know, before you order a whole bunch of vehicles and then find out, whoops, you know. That way you don't waste money.
We're pretty thorough. And one of the things that we do when we're making decisions like that is we consult our peer agencies also to explore what is working for them, what is available, what can be procured, what are the issues that they encounter as well. So we are pretty thorough about our research.
And how many of those people actually are in a wheelchair?
Of
See-
the leaders at the paratransit agencies,
Yes.
I believe that the leader of paratransit for the MTA in New York is in a wheelchair.
Okay.
I also want to just make sure we are
Thank
also,
you.
thank
I just
you.
want to thank everyone. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Michelle, and everybody. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
And I think you hit the nail spot on the head too, in that the ADA standards, the quote sizes that they say for wheelchairs are also pretty out of date as well at this point too. They're a lot smaller than what is actually being made in the market. So,
And our goal is to
like a
exceed
problem. Yeah.
exceed the minimum requirement whenever we can.
Yep, absolutely. All right, we have time for one more comment. Elizabeth Dienklauer. Thank you, Peter.
You're welcome. I have to go, so I'll see you at the next tag meeting.
All right,
Thank
Peter.
you, Peter.
Hey, Peter.
Elizabeth?
Yes, thank you, Jessica. And again, thank you for, thank you, Michelle, for your continued commitment to help us improve you and your team in these ways, not only that have been identified for tonight's meeting, but both at RTAG subcommittee or executive board meetings or the other listening sessions and general meetings. That certainly there are, particularly with Ride Flex, that some other that has its challenges as well as its enhanced freedom for ridership if it's same day need or desire for transport. That's outside today's focus, but so certainly we recognize there are positives that we're working with, but I think what encompasses is a recurring theme across multiple of these areas is that element of, in addition to representation by an RTAG member, but the importance of having people with lived experience of disability involved in feedback and decision-making at all levels, including, we hope in the future at the staff level as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth. I agree. And appreciate your input.
All right, I think that's a wonderful note to end it. Thank you all. Can you go to the next slide for me, Rob? Thank you all so much for attending tonight. Our next general membership meeting will be December 15th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. So it's a slight alteration from our typical last Thursday of the month schedule. And we will also be hosting a listening session in November on the ride and safety, I believe, right, Michelle?
Yes.
Yes. So we'll
That's
send out that information shortly, and it'll be posted to the Tees website, which is where, if you're ever wondering where the recordings are, or you want to double check the dates for meetings, RTAG has a page on the Tees website that all of this information is updated to. So feel free to check it out, and you can also reach out to me. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining, and we'll see you all next month.
Have a
Good
good
night.
night.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Everyone.